Good evening, and thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Kate Beyer, and I'm one of the Senior Associate Directors in the Admissions Office at Hobart and William Smith Colleges. Um, and thank you for coming tonight to learn a little bit about financial aid and understanding your financial aid package and how it works. We know it can be a confusing topic for students and families, so we always want to make sure we have some sessions around this with our wonderful Director of Financial Aid, Lisa. So let me just quickly talk about how it's going to work tonight. If you join any of our other sessions, like all the others, we are recording this session, so we ask that you remain muted while Lisa's doing the presentation. You are welcome to send questions to me. You're welcome to put questions in the chat. And we will open it up at the end too if anyone's brave and they want to maybe go off mute and off camera and be able to chat with us. But either way, chat's a great way to utilize and share those questions with us. And like everything else, it'll be stored on our YouTube page where all these sessions are being brought. So if someone misses it or you miss parts of it tonight, they'll always be able to go back and visit all of our virtual sessions there. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa, where she can introduce herself and begin our presentation.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. My name is Lisa Hosky. I'm Director of Financial Aid here at Hobart William Smith, and I'm hoping to get you the information you need as we go through the season. The one thing I would mention, Kate was talking about, but when you do the chat, if you could direct them to Kate or to everyone, because if you direct them to me, I'm probably not going to see them while we're talking, okay? So you've all got your admissions offer. Congratulations. We'd love to invite you to our community. I think we want to make sure you know that the admissions offer is not the end of the story. So if you have completed your 25-26 FAFSA, you would have already gotten an aid package, or you will be shortly. If you didn't, please do, so we can consider you for additional funding that you may be eligible to receive. And we will create another letter that outlines all of that information, and it'll be uploaded to your portal. In admissions, we get your FAFSA information electronically from the federal government. So once you do it, as long as you put our school code on it, we will be able to look at that information. We're creating them as quickly as possible. We try to be very thoughtful when we're looking at all of your information. And of course, we want to make it possible for you to attend if we can. Once they are, I think I mentioned this already, letters will be available in the portal. And after you get it, if you have some questions, appointments are available. They'll be available virtually, either with me or one of my wonderful staff members, in person or virtually. It virtually gives you a lot more flexibility. Then you don't have to drive in if you're a bit far away. And you can always email me as well. So I thought I would break down a bit what the components of a financial aid package look like, and how to sort of interpret the letters that you're getting from us and other institutions. So one of the things that we're required to do is develop a budget, which is referred to as the cost of attendance for financial aid. And what that really consists of is a budget that includes the tuition and fees that we charge, food and housing. There's an allowance for books. We know that you have to get your student here and back and wherever, or maybe take a plane or drive. So there's an allowance for transportation, personal expenses, haircuts, shampoo, that kind of thing, and loan fees. So we have to do our research and put all of that together before we can offer you any aid. We have to present really what we think it is estimated for your student to attend. After we put that aid packet, or after we put that budget together, we then look at what resources are available for you, so we could actually offer you, whether it's the scholarship like you've gotten from admissions, which is usually, it could be a trustee or a faculty or a bicentennial. Those you do not need to repay, and they're usually based on the information that you have submitted to admissions, things like your grade, activities, that kind of thing. Grants that we offer are need-based. You don't repay those as well, but those are the funding. That's the funding that we offer you based on your financial circumstances that we see from the financial aid form that you complete. Scholarships and grants can come from different sources, including the college or university, the federal government, like the Pell Grant, or New York State, like for a state grant. We'll also we'll list in there what loans you could qualify for, federal loans. Usually incoming students, the first year they qualify for about 5,500. And then we can talk about options for private and parent loans. They aren't usually in the first package. And then if you're eligible, we would also offer you an opportunity for federal work study or institutional work study. Okay, so far?
Good
Okay.
so far. Yeah, someone said that they only have the option to chat directly with the host, so I'm gonna try and change it, but if you need to send something, just send it. I'm a co-host, I think, right now, so you can always send it to me, everyone. Let me try and fix it. Sorry, Lisa.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure everybody gets questions answered, and I'm afraid of missing any. So thanks for working on that, Kate. So to make this a little bit more real, I'm going to put some numbers to it. So our cost of attendance that we put together for this year, tuition and fees, are $66,748 for the academic year. Food and housing is generally about $18,210. We estimate for books and supplies, you'll need about $1,000. We have a great program through the bookstore that actually brings it down closer to 500, but they will also need notebooks and that kind of thing. We estimate 1,350 for personal expenses and about 1,800 for transportation and 70 for loan fees. Now, when you look at this, the only ones that you're really billed for are going to be the tuition and fees and food and housing. All of those other numbers are basically placeholders that recognize that you're going to incur expenses with those components of the cost of attendance. So this is a sample financial aid package, not based on anybody's. I just kind of threw some stuff together. The scholarship in this particular example that was offered through the admissions process was $34,000. We were able to give this family $24,626 in an HWS grant, the need-based funding. In this case, they also got Pell Grant of $4,000 from the federal government, $4,000 they're New York State residents from New York State. The federal loans, right? Current interest rate is 6.53, and then work. So the total is 74,126 of what we've offered based on the 89,000 and on the last slide. The next couple slides are probably the most critical to help shore up some understanding because, I think it's really sort of intimidating when you think 89,000 is an awful lot of money. So let's work this through. So in this case, when we're looking at the overall cost of attendance budget, including the stuff we don't bill for, and then we subtract the aid you're offered, out-of-pocket expenses look to be about $15,052. But this includes those things like the gas you put in your car, for example, that you wouldn't necessarily, you're not going to get billed for from us, but could actually, there's still a charge that you incur. Billable expenses, if you look at it from that point of view, billable expenses total $84,958. I've taken away the transportation, the personal costs, all that kind of things. Financial aid, I took away. Didn't include the work because we really recommend that any work study funds that your child receives probably best used for day-to-day expenses that might come up, like shampoo, pizza, haircut, whatever the case may be. So your out-of-pocket expenses that you're actually paying to HWS in this case are $12,832. So before I keep going, any questions so far, Kate, that I should address?
Someone just asked about need-based aid, HWS grant seems to be heavily FAFSA dependent, not CSS dependent. So do you want to just quickly, we don't require CSS, so do you want to just quickly clarify how that HWS grant determined using FAFSA since we don't use CSS?
I mean, we will look at the CSS if you submit it, and sometimes that gives us a better picture, but the only required form that you have to submit is the FAFSA. So your assumption is correct. It's heavily FAFSA dependent. One of the things that's really useful that, with profile, you actually have some space there where you can talk about some special circumstances if you want us to know about them. things that come up might be caring for elderly parents, costs that are associated with that, higher medical bills. So the profile, while useful and does help inform what we're able to do, is not required at all. So it is very much FAFSA dependent. That's absolutely accurate. So the bills, while you're looking at, let me go back here. So you look at this and you're looking at $12,832. If you divide that, half of that will be billed in the fall, in July, and half will be billed in December for the spring. Usually the bill will go out about July 1st, be due about August 1st, and then go out about December 1st and be due about January 1st, within a few days. Options for paying the balance include, I mean, if you're in a situation where you can pay in full by the due date, that's wonderful. If you have a 529, some folks use that at that time. If you want to spread the payments out over the semester, we offer a payment plan that you can use to do that. It costs $30 a semester, but it's not a loan. It literally will just take, like in this case, the $6,000 or whatever it was, divided over 5 months if you sign up early. If you sign up later, it'll be 4 months. Sign up later, it'll be 3 months. So like if you sign up for a payment plan that first week that you get your bill, you'll have a lot of time to spread that across the semester, which a lot of families like to do. Parent loans are an option that some people take advantage of. While the interest rate is a bit high, there's some protections in parent loans that don't exist in some of the private loans. They are in the parent's name and are repaid by the parent. Private loan options exist as well that are often in the student's name. Private loans are very dependent on credit worthiness and almost always require a cosigner. So it really comes down to what's best for your family, whether it's a loan in the parent's name or whether it's a private loan, if those are options that you're considering. The parent loan has protections against death and disability. Private loans often do not. So the insurance you can buy on other loans, it's just built in. So those are things to think about. You can actually use a combination of all of the above options as well. Sometimes we might have a blended family where one parent wants to pay what they owe by the due date, the other wants to use a payment plan. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes families might decide, I'll take out 5,000 in the parent loan, but I want you to take out 5,000 in the private loan. That's okay too. If you want to pay part of your 529 and pay less on it, over on the payment plan, we will work with you with any combination of those options that you have with our student accounts office. So it makes it a bit more manageable through the process. And I did see a direct message pop up. Should we submit the CSS then? You certainly don't have to. We're going to package you either way. It doesn't hurt. But if you haven't done the CSS, I wouldn't go out of your way to do it. If you've done it and you want to add us to it, that's fine. But it's not at all required. We will get your financial aid packages as quickly as possible because we understand the urgency and we really want you to have the information you need to make an informed decision about your college choice. Really, it's sort of like having all of those aid packages and sitting around the coffee table or the kitchen table and seeing what makes the most sense. We can discuss any payment options or special circumstances after you've received your financial aid package. I need to get the basics out first. We are here to help and appointments are available. One of the other things I want to talk about when I'm talking about comparing aid packages, it's really important when you're looking at the different schools and the options to not only look at what they're offering you in grants and in scholarships and that sort of thing, but also look at the actual costs and make sure you're comparing apples to apples, meaning that you're looking at just the billable cost or you're looking at all of them together or vice versa. And if you need any help sort of navigating the complexity of those letters, me and my staff are happy to help you do that. If you need to sort of, if you want to understand them and you want to send them and you want to talk about that further. And at this point, I think I got through all of the slides, so it's just questions.
Yeah, I have a first question. If we received a merit scholarship with the offer letter and then filled out the FAFSA, will we see any additional aid in the financial aid package?
It is likely that you will, even if somebody fills out the FAFSA and they are in a situation where they do not qualify for need-based aid. At a minimum, you'll be offered the federal loan, which you can take or decline as you see fit. So depending on your financial circumstances, you may get grant money and loans, or at a minimum, you would be offered loans, assuming you qualify.
Okay, good. Thank you. Someone asked where on the student portal is the financial aid package located? So just like when your student got their acceptance, they got an email that said a decision is posted in their portal. That's the email they'll get, by the way. We can't change that language. So instead of it saying your financial aid package is available or whatever, it says a decision's posted. They log in and it will say like new letter or new update posted or whatever. So it will be one of those links, correct, Lisa?
Correct.
Yep. So, and it may not be there yet. They can also always check with us, their admissions officers. That's information that we can see in the system.
Mhm.
You're also welcome to reach out to Lisa's office as well. We'll put some contact information
Mhm.
at the end. Um, okay. Oh, are we open to appeals? Um, so you want to talk a little bit about
Sure.
appeals process?
So if there's a situation where you don't think that everything has been considered, as useful as the FAFSA is, it does not include information about everything, and I alluded to that a little bit earlier. I find, especially in this age group of parents, of which I'm one, oftentimes that's when we get in that sandwich generation where we are helping elderly parents and our children, and or maybe have multiple children or have a child with special needs or additional medical expenses. Any of those kinds of things that you think really were not reflected well or at all in the FAFSA, you should absolutely feel confident to bring to our attention. There is an appeal link that your admissions counselor can send you. So what I would say is just reach out to admissions and maybe have that conversation and we can send that to you. Or if you email financial aid directly, we can send you that link as well. There is an appeals committee. So as we get that information, we would review them and allocate whatever additional funding that we can if we're able.
Couple of questions about outside scholarships. Can
Mhm.
people stack them? How does that work?
It all depends in some ways on if it's a scholarship that's specific to tuition, the combination of our funding and the scholarship specific to tuition, like New York TAP or some of the tuition benefits, that will be limited to tuition and fees. But generally speaking, if an outside scholarship comes in, like most students get like $1,000 here or $2,000 there from high school things or programs or applications. I will first, if there's room in the financial aid package by the numbers and I don't exceed certain guidelines, we'll just stack it. If it becomes a point where it's going to exceed the budget, which I'm not allowed to do, I would first look at adjusting loans and work. So if I had to decrease anything to accommodate that, that's what I would do. And then as the very last resort, if I was going to be over the budget, then I would have to start decreasing need-based funding from HWS. But it's very rare that we get to that point. I've maybe had it happen, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year. And it's usually pretty specific things. And they're usually pretty large amount scholarships, like whether it's often it's a tuition benefit from another school that will do that. Um, or something equally as large.
Yep. Okay. Can students take out more than the $5,500 loan if it's offered?
They can't take it out in federal dollars. They can take out if a parent is denied a PLUS loan, they will become eligible for additional federal dollars. Um, Otherwise, the only other loans for students would be the private loans that I mentioned a bit in our payment options. And they often require a cosigner. Very few 18-year-olds have credit scores that are high enough to get them simply because they just haven't used credit a lot. But absolutely, they can absolutely apply for those private loans and obtain cosigners, which even if they take them and have credit, cosigners usually reduce the interest rate.
Great. My employer, John Hopkins University, offers a tuition grant for my son. Do you have experience with that?
I have experience with multiple tuition grants from various schools, and they're usually very specific to the school. So that's something you should probably reach out to me directly via email, which is just my last name, hosky@hws.edu.
Yeah.
Some schools, our funding has to be limited to tuition fees. Oftentimes, the school grants are also that come from employers are also have that same limitation. So depending, we just need to kind of work through that for your specific circumstance.
Yeah. As an international student who received a scholarship and submitted the CSS, is it possible that we'll also receive financial aid?
It is possible if you haven't received a financial aid package already. But absolutely, we would look at your eligibility for that as well.
I don't know if this is more of a you question. Someone asked about on-campus work opportunities available to first-year students.
Mhm.
So we do, because we package them with work study. Do
Mhm.
you want to speak just vaguely
Mhm.
about that or generally about that
Yeah,
or?
yeah. No, absolutely. So we do offer it. There are sometimes challenges for students. It's not guaranteed. So you really need to sort of get on we have a system called Handshake that goes through our Career Services and Human Resources Department that the jobs as they're posted are there and students can apply for. So they really are across campus. There are some in athletics, there's some in the dining hall. We have a couple students in financial aid. I know admissions has some students. Usually it's like 4 to 5 hours a week, so it's pretty manageable. And it really is helpful, I think, for like shampoo and pizza money, basically.
Yeah. Someone did ask about, do you want to just quickly speak to, because people are saying FAFSA doesn't consider other siblings in college. Do you want to just talk with people about our policy around that, regardless of FAFSA?
Yes, FAFSA does not, absolutely does not in the in their calculation anymore account for that. It used to. So it used to actually just split your SAI basically in half. We will see, even though FAFSA still does ask the question. So we will see that you have multiples in school and that will be considered when we're offering you need-based grant funding.
So we do consider it even though the FAFSA
Mhm.
doesn't.
Yeah, it can't be considered for like the Pell Grant, but we will look at it for our funding.
Okay, no, I can just answer this. No financial aid packages are not only available after the student commits to the school. So as Lisa said, we've already sent out a bunch. Her team's working really hard each week to send out more. So just stay tuned. If we have your FAFSA and the information we need,
Mhm.
that we will send you a package. Okay, is any work study included in the initial package that was sent? This is a good point because I think not everyone knows about
Mhm.
multiple pages of their package, Lisa.
Mhm, mhm. Right, you usually, I mean, most of students, if there's room in the package, we do offer either federal work study or institutional work study. And Kate, you actually hit right on it. The financial aid letter, because of all of the information that we're required to include from the federal government, is a multiple page document. So I think when it's in the admissions, when you're in the admissions portal and you're looking at it, you want to make sure you look at all pages.
Yeah, keep clicking through, friends.
Mhm.
So someone asked about the time frame for the delivery of the aid packages. So I mean, like you said, you're working as quickly as possible
Yep, yep.
in the next couple of weeks, right?
Yep. Yeah, you'll have it in time before you need to make a decision, by far. I expect the next couple weeks to be pretty heavy. And then I think our numbers will dwindle, I think, as most of them get done.
If we have another child at boarding school on financial aid, do you take our out-of-pocket costs for that child into consideration when reviewing the CSS and financial aid calculation?
It's not always immediately taken. I mean, I'll see it, and and depending on where you sit financially, that's something that can inform what we do. But if it's something that's significant, which I know most boarding schools are, I would suggest that you submit an appeal and mention that in the appeal. It can't hurt. I mean, if we can offer additional funding, I can't guarantee that we will. Like I said, it's a committee process, but I'm willing to take forward whatever people want to submit.
Are international students eligible to work?
Up to 20 hours a week. I don't think that their international students are offered institutional work study right away, because it is a bit more challenging with the I-20, but I think you're limited in how many hours. But you're eligible, you just have to work with um, the handshake system like everybody else.
Yeah, yeah, and we have a couple of colleagues that work with international students
Mhm,
in our office, Dylan in
mhm.
particular.
Yeah,
So and his information is all on the international part of our
Yep.
website. So he's also a great person that you could reach out to about that.
Mhm.
Do the HWS Merit Scholarships require work study?
No, no, work study really is just something that's there to help with any day-to-day expenses. It's not, there's no requirement to do it.
Oh, here's a good one. If you've taken dual enrollment classes in high school that count as college credits and you've paid for while in high school, how do these transfer and how might they affect your cost of tuition? So I could speak more to the transfer piece, but does that affect cost of tuition at all?
I mean, it's not gonna impact the cost of tuition year to year. The place that it could save money is if you finish in less than 4 years.
Yeah. So for both dual enrollment and AP credits, it's we do accept, but we max up to 7 credits or as many as you're allowed to bring in. It's case by case, students, we encourage them if they matriculate with us to work with the dean's office and they can walk them through that process on transferring the credits in. And if it might allow them to bypass classes or things, it varies department to department and they all feel differently about it. So that's why I say it's a case by case. So yeah, I think the only way it would affect it is if you're able to graduate earlier, that would save you
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
Given the very recent federal employee firings, can aid be recalculated should a parent lose their job in the coming months?
That's a situation, if a family undergoes any significant sort of financial change, it's a situation where you should probably reach out to my office. And we can talk about what steps to take. In some situations, it makes sense for me to ask for a lot of documentation and see if we can make changes to the FAFSA and see if I can increase your eligibility for certain federal funds. In some cases, and I can usually eyeball it and tell whether it's worth going through the trouble or not. Honestly, I don't want you to have to do a lot of paperwork that is unnecessary. So we should talk is the final answer on that. It is possible. We should talk.
Great. Oh, so what will 20 hours a week equal in money value? So, I mean, that's remind me the work study package or number that students usually get.
I mean, usually they're only allowed to work 4 or 5 hours a week because it's about $2,400 for
Yeah.
the year. The maximum the I-20 allows is 20 hours a week for international students, but most students
Yeah.
can
I
do
was gonna
that.
say definitely most students are
Yeah.
not working 20 hours.
Yeah, and I think that would be really hard to do that and still stay focused on your studies, honestly.
Yeah. Though we do have some students that do a work study and sometimes work outside jobs, right? Like in the community or things
Yep,
if people wanted.
yep.
Um, what if the student has a full associate's degree upon graduation? So some high schools, right, if you're doing a dual enrollment, part of that is they earn an associate's degree when they graduate. Does that affect anything?
I mean, it would depend on if we're only taking, when we admit them, do we take the full associate's degree in that case? I
That
think
is a
we
good
do.
question that I think we need to get you the answer to
Yeah.
because none of my schools that I work with in my territory do that. So I'm not as familiar with it, but I know like in New York, it's a lot more common.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna write down your information, Jennifer, and we will get back to you. Yeah, you're in New York. Yep, that makes sense. So let's see if we can get you an answer. We'll connect offline.
Okay.
Okay. If a student was accepted for early action, should they have received their financial aid package yet?
Not necessarily. It depends on when the FAFSA was submitted. And we're just picking up groups at a time. I mean, we're running through them as quickly as we can. You can certainly check with my office to make sure that we have the FAFSA or admissions really, because I think you guys can see if we have the FAFSA as well, right?
Yes, if it's been uploaded on our side, we can see it.
Yep,
The only thing that we might not be able to see is we did have some instances, right, Lisa, where like a signature was missing or
yep,
things like that. So
yep,
you might think that you've correctly submitted
yep,
the FAFSA, but
yep.
not always the case. But that is something that if you contact the financial aid office on their side, they can look that up and tell you if there's anything that would be holding it up.
And you can actually even look at studentaid.gov too, and it confirm that
Oh
it's
yeah,
there. Um,
perfect.
but yeah, either way, I think admissions can see that it's been received. You can't see any of the detail of it, and we have more of the detail. So yes,
Yeah.
please reach out.
Okay, if the student increases their workload and completes the degree in 3 years instead of 4, does the tuition cost apply for 3 years only? Well, we have a max amount of classes a student can take. They can only take, so most students take 4 classes a semester. And unless I'm wrong, you're only allowed to take 5, I
Mhm.
think is what they generally only approve maybe 5.
Mhm.
And that's kind of special cases. That's not they're going to approve a kid to take 5 each semester because of the workload.
Mhm.
Um, so sometimes kids can graduate early, maybe by taking some extra classes or maybe by bringing some credits in, but I don't think that's the norm, right? So,
Not the norm. Yep.
yeah. Is the financial aid that we are offered applied to all 4 years or only the first year? So that's a good question. We get a lot of questions about that. What is
Mhm.
guaranteed, Lisa? What's not? How does it
Yep.
work?
So the merit scholarships, as long as your student remains enrolled full-time and in good academic standing, are guaranteed. The grants, the need-based grants, are effectively the same every year. What will change is, like the question earlier, if somebody loses a job, we may need to reevaluate to see if you qualify for more if you tell us. On the other side of that, if you win the lottery, I may take it away and send you to institutional research to see if you'll endow a scholarship. So it has to be a pretty significant change to change the need-based funding. What really people see, all kidding aside about the lotto, when you'll see a change is like if a parent is divorced and then gets remarried, so the income might change significantly in that family, and that could change some need-based funding, but it's very rare. I try very hard to keep the package the same every year because I don't like to mess with people's educational dreams.
All right, I think I've caught up with what's in the chat, but please let me know if we did not get to your question, and please feel free to keep submitting questions if there's anything else. Oh, yes, Lisa, your email. Can you put your
Oh,
email in the chat,
I
please?
can, I can. Let's see, to everyone in the meeting. And if you email me, when I respond to you in my signature line, there'll be a link to Calendly where you can actually access my calendar and make an appointment virtually if you want to talk.
And there are lots of people. There's several people in your office too, right? That are
Mhm.
taking the
Yep,
virtual meetings as well.
yep,
So we don't want to, we don't put everything on Lisa, right? Her whole team is
yep.
qualified to have these conversations.
Oh yeah, they're really good. I'm really excited with the team we have. They're pretty good.
Oh, so someone's saying we're wondering if a student has a 4-year merit scholarship and completes a degree in 3 years, will the award be divided up into 3 years instead
No,
of 4?
no, no.
Yeah. We also have no way of knowing, right?
Right. And we can't do it retroactively.
Right. Ambitious students, though. I love it.
I know, that's true.
Great. Is there anything else on your mind? I know we know this is complicated. You asked great questions. You covered a lot of the frequently asked ones that
Mhm.
we get. As Lisa mentioned, they are available in person as well. So Lisa, at every admitted student day, right? There's a member of
Mhm.
your staff, or is it you?
Yep.
Do you do them all?
Well, usually I'm at every admitted student day on the Saturdays, and those are there are appointments that are usually available. And I do have at least one other staff member that takes appointments that day that comes in. Usually I try to get all of us in, but it depends on the weekend.
Yep. And if you are visiting us on campus, not for
Mhm.
admitted student day, but a different time, please reach out and let us know if a financial aid meeting is something that you would like to
Mhm.
set up.
Yep.
And they will do their best to work with your schedule and get
Mhm.
you a meeting in person as well. And then certainly the virtual meetings are
Mhm.
very helpful as well.
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. We so
Mhm.
appreciate the participation and the questions. And congratulations again. I'm assuming it's a
Mhm.
lot of families on the call, but if the students are on the call too, good for you.
Yep.
Congratulations to you, students, to your
Mhm.
children. We are really excited about the idea. of them joining our community. So please, we just don't want you to have questions, right? Or
Yep.
be wondering about things. So let us know, get in touch if there are ways that we can be helpful. And we look forward to connecting with you in the future.